Hello, everyone. I'm honored today to be talking to my friend Denis Kennelly. I got to meet Denis, probably 6, 7 months ago after I had called Arvind Krishna and he introduced me to Rick Lewis, and I came out to New York to meet him and his team. And we hit it off almost instantly, and we shared a very common vision. And in a remarkable 6 months, we announced our partnership in March. And I'm just excited. I've always had a tremendous admiration for IBM. But what he is trying to get done in systems and storage has been incredible. So I want to first off say, Denis, I wish this was in person, but we decided to do this virtual. Thank you for taking a few minutes to talk to me.
Thank you, Sanjay. I'm delighted to be here and looking forward to talking to you today. And yes, it's been a short 6 months, but already we got a lot done, and that's what I like to see happening.
It's amazing to see IBM, the great company, moving so fast. We're honored. Hey, listen, you have a number of possible people you could work with and partner with. What did you see in Cohesity, and why did you pick us as a key basis to the new product you're calling IBM Storage Defender?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think, when I looked at the whole data protection space, and I have a background, I did work in security for a number of years, and looking at, what's happening in the world in terms of ransomware and data resilience, right? It really comes down to three key things, right, as we talk to clients. Number one is, how do you prepare? I mean, the inevitable is going to happen, right? So how do you understand where all your data assets are? Once you understand that, how do you protect them? And what protections have you got in place, which is classic data protection, but it's broader than classic data protection. Understanding as you protect that data, if it has got infected and if it's safe from infections. And of course, more importantly, how you recover in the event of the unthinkable happening. And as we looked through the lens and we have a vision around those three aspects. And we looked at a lot of technology companies and capabilities, and a lot of them have pieces, maybe one, maybe two. But for the more complete vision and where the Cohesity company is going, I'm delighted to say that's what started the partnership discussions, because I think we have a very similar view of the market.
Yeah.
And a lot of these relationships, hinge on having that common view and having that common strategy. Because if you bring two parties together who have differing strategies, it always comes out in the execution, and that's really what you don't want to have happen. And I'm delighted to say over the last 6 months, as we started those conversations, we nod, when we talk, we understand what each other is saying, and we're both on the same path. And now we're coming together to execute on that Storage Defender platform that we talked about.
So let's talk about that solution. What are some of the key pillars? You're going to be announcing it at your Think conference, and you're going to be doing more. We're going to get it on your price list. What are some of the key pillars that this audience who's listening into this should know about what's inside Storage Defender?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think when you think about Storage Defender, I mean, if you look at the world we live in today, everybody is talking about AI and ChatGPT, et cetera, and bringing AI to the enterprise. But at the core of that is the data. I mean, at the end of the day, this is all about data and monetizing your data. So when we think about Storage Defender, we start from there. We start with the data. Do you understand where your data assets are? What are the critical data assets? What are the ones that, should your company get attacked, that are absolutely critical to your company to get you back really quickly? What are the ones that are a secondary priority and a tertiary, and so on and so forth? Because really cataloging that data, and it's not just, a lot of times when we talk about data cataloging, people think about structured data. I'm talking about all your data assets, structured and unstructured. And as you know, 80% of the world today is unstructured data.
Yeah.
And really understanding that at its core is difficult, and it's a big task. But unless you do that, everything else, all priorities out the window after that. So now once you have a good understanding and discovered your data assets, then of course you want to understand what your protection policies are on that. Clearly, everybody takes backups at this day and age, right? And everybody has a data protection policy. But how are those backups protected? Are they air gapped? I mean, we're still in the tape business, right? Which is one of the age-old air protection platforms, right? But we've also developed things like what we call safeguarded copy or immutable snapshots. within our storage system, right? So in other words, when you take a copy of the data, as the word says, it's immutable. You cannot access that data directly. You can only access a copy of that data.
Right.
So making sure you have protection policies right across the environment. And of course, with Cohesity, we extend that with the Cohesity capabilities in terms of what you have done with things like Fort Knox and other things, which, going back to my strategy point, really leads into what we're talking about. So now we have a protection in place. But of course, the real challenge is how you get back quickly. And when I was in the security business, I mean, recovery came down to, okay, you've been hit with a ransomware attack. Let's get a bunch of smart people in triage and get around the table and let's figure out how we start to recover a minimum viable company.
Yeah.
We got to move on from that right now. And based on what I've said in terms of your data cataloging and your protection policies, then of course recovery becomes, I won't say easy, but easier, right? So you understand where you're coming from. And by doing that recovery, also making sure you have a recovery policy, but you actually continuously test that and make sure you can deliver on those SLAs that happen.
One of the beauties of IBM for the 2 decades I've known you guys is you serve some of the world's largest customers. Your top customer base is like the Fortune 500, Fortune 100, Global 2000 companies. What are you hearing from customers as you talk to them about cyber resilience? And I love the fact that your background, like mine, is also security. What are they telling you in this area? Maybe a few kind of stories.
Yeah, I mean, even though I came from security and I was in storage, I kept, when I came into storage, I always thought, okay, this is going to be about speeds and feeds and objects and files and all that stuff. But very quickly I realized conversation went right back to my roots in security, right? And really around data resilience.
Yeah.
And every single client that we talk to, from the mainframe to cloud only and hybrid cloud and everything in between, the same conversation is coming up. Data resilience, data recovery, how, everybody, 50% of the world's companies are under a ransomware attack at any point in time, right? That's just ongoing every day as it happens, right? So it's top of mind right up from the CEO, from a board level conversation, right, clearly down into the CIO and the CISO, right down through the organization. So that's really what, as I talk to clients, yes, they want to buy storage, but the whole data resilience story. And to talk about, some of what I talked about, if I go back, a lot of our technology and, where we get real leading edge or bleeding edges with financial institutions and in that mainframe environment. A lot of these concepts that I talked about that we have in Defender came from the mainframe. If you think about, some of the world's biggest transaction processing systems in the world run on that platform.
Right.
And they can't afford a second of downtime, not mind a millisecond of downtime. Seconds is a lifetime in that world, right? So, and they face the same threats as any other system in the world in terms of ransomware. So a lot of the concepts around, immutability, things like being able to recover in a sandbox environment came out of that world, right? And we applied a lot of those into the open and the distributed world.
Well, anything from your side for us and for the audience that are many Cohesity customers?
Well, now I have you in a very public forum, Sanjay, right? I mean, it's important to me as well to know where you're taking Cohesity next. And just talk a little bit about the Cohesity vision for the future. And without, leading the witness, obviously we're very well aligned, and I want to make sure we keep aligned in terms of where you're going in the future.
Yeah, I think, Denis, first off, I'm really delighted to be talking to you. I would just sort of summarize sort of 3 things. I've been the CEO now for 7, 8 months. Our founder, Mohit, and the founding team that built this technology platform that, after 8, 9 years is still leading in the industry. So the first thing I want to do is take that data management vision that we had and make sure it is built for the private cloud and multi-cloud and continues to have that sort of benefit of scale, TCO benefits, and speed. Part of the reason we win over most alternatives is it's 10x faster, 50% lower TCO on commodity hardware, and can just run blindingly fast. And run that in a private cloud and a multi-cloud. So we've started with AWS and Azure, but we're going to get IBM Cloud also working. So, for regulated industries, you guys are important. And that architecture is going to be really important, controlled by one control plane. Secondly, we're really investing heavily in security, threat scanning, cyber vaulting, classification of data, and making sure that our parallel product, Data Protect, Data Hawk, has capabilities that are, like your and my DNA, very much security driven, and that becomes a parallel sphere. Often, to me, it's been a regret that in the data protection industry, you have a parallel set of security companies that have not been integrated well together. And the third, I think, just like you at IBM have a vision with AI and Watson and all the things you've done, AI applied both to security, but also to the way in which you search for data that might be packed up in those backup files. There's some tremendous new technology that we're looking at for how generative AI and large language models could apply for ways you could search large amounts of backup data in a very creative way. We're looking forward. We've done this now with OpenAI. We're doing this with some of the other capabilities, and we want to start doing this also with Watson. So there's tremendous possibilities of how AI could make end users more productive while also allowing security people to detect anomalies in data more rigidly. So, rigidly and vigorously. So I'm excited about the future. Probably all of that is premised, I've talked a lot about product innovation there, on customer obsession and a partner ecosystem that's delighted with us. So when we have a partner like you that's happy and we're taking products to the market well, listen, just to even be in the same sentence of an iconic brand like IBM is incredible. I've always believed, like Isaac Newton said, you see clearly because you stand on the shoulder of giants. We're a much smaller company. I have a great track record of working with you guys from VMware and SAP, and I want to do that here at Cohesity. So let me just close by thanking you, Denis. Your time is precious.
Thank you, Sanjay, and really appreciate the time today. And I'll just finish by saying, again, you've reaffirmed the strategy. I mean, you talked about, security. That's one of the strong points of IBM. You talked about, hybrid multi-cloud, which is a core part of our strategy. And then you talked about, infusing AI with data, which is exactly where the IBM company is going. And we couldn't be more aligned. So delighted to be on, and good luck with the rest of your conference. Thanks.